Hey there! We're doing even though it doesn't look like it in the background, we're going to do a road trip video on a series that I'm going to start right now for a trip that we took in the summertime. It was a really nice summer vacation, counts as a road trip, that I kind of figured maybe some of you might like some pointers about. For various places. We're going to start with the biggie right away, and that's Disneyland, California. The original Disneyland park started in Anaheim, California, down in Orange County. And we're going to do a real quick, some just kind of tips and tricks that we've learned over the years. So here we go, road trip time, Disneyland. So tip number one, get there early. I know that can be tough for some people. I feel for you. I'm the type of person that sometimes for me, early means 9 o'clock in the morning if I'm hanging around the house now that I'm a retired guy. But yeah, get there early. And I know that can look daunting because sometimes you'll see pictures like, oh, Disneyland hasn't opened yet. And look, the lines are all the way out to the Esplanade, which is the center area in between the two parks after you go through security. And even the security lines now can be pretty hard to deal with. Tough to look at and daunting to look at. But they do things like they'll open those gates a little bit early before actual opening, because then it gets that crowd flowing, gets you inside. You have things to do once you're in there. Once you're in that little lobby area in front of the train station, you can take pictures there, all that kind of fun stuff. You get into the Main Street area. They've got a rope. It's called the rope drop. They've got a big rope there with employees, and you have to wait there. But at the same time, if you don't want to just wait by the rope to drop, the stores are there and open. And of course, they're totally happy to open those a little bit early and let people come in and do some shopping and start spending money in their resort. It's one of the reasons why they do what they do. But if you can get up there and on Main Street, it looks like this huge crowd and it's going to be wild. But you will be surprised that when that rope drops, the crowd, because Disneyland is a good-sized theme park, the crowd that looks gigantic just diffuses and scatters through the park. And if you can get there at that opening time, that rope drop, and make a beeline for the thing that you just, I need to ride this, or I need to do this one thing in Disneyland, that's the time to do it, to try and keep your wait time down. So getting there early is key. I know with my family, when the kids were little, the big things were the dark rides in Fantasyland. You know, Snow White, Mr. Toad, especially the Peter Pan ride, because that's always the one that has a huge line in it. It usually has the biggest wait time and stuff like that. If you can get in right at the rope drop, you don't even have to be at the rope. I'm just saying at the rope drop and you flow through. Most people are running to the big ticket rides. They're all heading for Indy. They're heading for Space Mountain. They're going to Star Tours, Star Wars Land. They're all going to scatter out that way. And if you've got younger kids that you're not too worried about that for, or even if you don't, you just want to enjoy Disneyland before the crowds kind of get there. You get there early, get there at the rope drop, you head straight through the castle and into Fantasyland, and you can walk on most of those dark rides. And that includes the non-dark rides like Dumbo, Casey Jr., the Storybook boats, all of that area right there. Bam. So it's just good. And we found that this works perfectly for almost any place you go. If you can get there close to opening, you're going to do good to kind of beat the main crowds of the afternoon and things like that. So get there early. Now, another tip for Disneyland, especially specifically, is you have to use their system. You don't have much of a choice anymore. Back in the day when we had annual passes, well, that's kind of like using their system, right? But we could get away with things a little easier. And and you can, you know, kind of get in here and maybe we'll squeak in there and things like that. But for the most part now, you're not going to get into a lot of things in Disneyland unless you use their system, and their system wants you to plan ahead. I know some people don't vacation that way. Other people, they love it. That's how they vacation all the time, is they plan ahead and things like that. But really, you get online, you use the Disneyland app, and you use that app to set appointments, basically, is what you're doing. You want to make sure that the family gets to ride Rise of the Resistance. Okay, then you have to get a time to reserve a time on Rise of Resistance and then hope that it doesn't break down. And if it does, what are you going to do? You're going to have to go from there. But you need to kind of do that kind of plan ahead thing and be ready for that. There's several things that I'm going to specifically hit on in other videos, certain things that really worked well for us that I'm going to talk about. But in general, planning ahead, using their app to reserve times to hit certain major things that have that'll help you avoid what they call the standby lines, which is just the folks who they don't have an appointment, they don't have any of that kind of thing, they just walk up and want to ride Splash Mountain, and they're going to get in the standby line, and that's the one that's got an hour wait, you know. Whereas if you've got an appointment, you can skip a lot of that line. You're still going to end up doing some waiting. It's just absolutely no way around it when you're talking about Disneyland. The massive amounts of people they put into that park, you are going to do some line waiting no matter what. But you can cut down how long you're doing that line waiting by using their system and getting yourself basically, I can't even remember what the term is we used this summer that they had, but basically it's an appointment. You set up an appointment to go to this ride at a certain time, and that helps you skip most of the line. So use their system. That's kind of how it's set up at Disneyland, and you can't get around it. A third tip I wanted to share with you, a lot of people don't think about, is don't tunnel vision. I'm going to get a little sappy here. Walt Disney designed Disneyland in a very specific way. And it is not an amusement park. It is a theme park. There is a difference between an amusement park is you're here for the big exciting rides and thrill rides, and they give you a little bit of fun stuff to look at, but for the most part, you're there just for the thrill rides, okay? A theme park is a fully themed, you have stuff to look at no matter where you turn, type of experience. There's a reason why the original Disneyland, they've kind of moved beyond it a little bit, but the original Disneyland has a berm built around it, because once you were inside the park, Walt didn't want you thinking about stuff that was outside. There was no outside. Once you were inside, you were in the realm of Disneyland. There wasn't an outside. You were there. You were transported. That's why they still use terms when an employee, which is called a cast member, goes out into the park, they're on stage. The park is a stage. The whole place is a show. And all the employees are cast members. They're not just workers type of thing. That was the original design for Disneyland as far as Walt was concerned. Now, modern era, yeah, you can get political about things, and you can talk about some of the labor issues Disneyland has, and it is really unfortunate. But the original design for Disneyland, it is a theme park. So do not tunnel vision and just walk through this place looking down at the ground. Or, you know, I understand, I've told you, like when the rope drops, go straight to Fantasyland, stuff like that. But take in the atmosphere as much as you can. There are going to be times when, yes, okay, we need to get over, we have an appointment or a line, a special line pass for Rise of the Resistance. We need to get there by this time, let's get going. And so you're kind of in a move. But please do, when you're walking through, take in the atmosphere, because even some of the new lands, especially places like Cars Land, the Star Wars, the outpost there, the theming is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. Especially like Cars Land at night Absolutely incredible. And we're gonna have a nice police helicopter flying over. Anyway, but yes, the theming. You don't have to worry about that as much at Disneyland because it's technically a no-fly zone except for certain exemptions. But yeah, they're just fantastic. I especially Cars Land at night, to walk through that theming at night is pretty cool. The new Avengers campus, both of those are in California Adventure. I understand that, but I mean in Disneyland though, they've been doing it for a long time. Tomorrowland at night is a pretty cool place to see. The new Star Wars land is great. Toontown is fun, fun theming, especially if you got little kids in your family. Great stuff. So yeah, don't just like tunnel vision and think you're in an amusement park and you're just going to jump from ride. Enjoy the theming around the park. It is, some of that stuff's been there for almost 80 years now, and it still holds up. It's still really awesome. Some of the newer stuff, incredible. It does them credit. It's really cool, and just enjoy. I mean, even things like just little details. There's not a single ride down in the Main Street area, but it's fantastic to walk through. I mean, you can read the paintings on the windows that say such and such proprietor, makes it look like a dentist's office or a this store or that store and things like that. All those names are named after people who helped create Disneyland and make it what it is today and things like that. So they all have meanings. That it's not just theming, it's part of the park's history. It's really amazing. So don't just just walk straight through. Enjoy, look around, take in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is just as important as hitting all the amazing rides. So that's about it for just some basic tips. I'll probably, and I've been, while I've been talking here, you'll be seeing all these videos and pictures of things that I'm talking about and stuff like that. It can be daunting. The last tip I have for you is don't try to do it in a day. Disneyland is not that kind of theme park. I understand finances are a thing, but to actually kind of get in there and get things done and see as much as you really should be able to see in Disneyland, you're not going to do it in one day. And if you do, it's a hectic day. I mean, I don't know how you'd enjoy it. I couldn't. I could not. If I were just rushing around from ride to ride and ignoring this and that and not having time to do, just sit and kind of enjoy one of my favorite things to do is just get on the railroad and ride it all the way around once or twice, because it's just amazing. It's just fun, and you get to you see people watch and see a few things and the old soundtrack and it rests your feet. It's a great way to rest your legs and things. I couldn't do Disneyland if I was rushing around, ignoring all the theming and just trying to jump from ride to ride. And for some people, I know that's your vacation. That's what you want. Okay. But I really suggest to do it right. You're going to have to save up for it, spend the extra money, and minimum 2 days for just Disneyland. I'm not talking about the whole resort, because there's a whole nother theme park over there. Plus there's downtown Disney. Minimum 2 days for just Disneyland. If you can do 3, that's optimum, I think. You should be able to, in 3 days, hit everything you'd ever want to ride in Disneyland and see everything and go all the shows and do all those things. So 3 days would be optimum, but you should be able to get most of the good stuff done in 2 days. 1 day is just, I think that would just be too stressful. I mean, why vacation if you're going to put yourself through that kind of stress and spend the kind of money you are to get into Disneyland? So there you go. That's my final tip is more than 1 day. I'll be doing more stuff on Disneyland, some very specific stuff. Certain restaurants that are really good, certain places that you should go. My feelings on some of the newer rides and things like that. So this was just a general overview with some general tips for Disneyland. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of the road trip side of this channel. And I have other things to do. I am going to also do a general tip thing on California Adventure. as well as some specific stuff there. I'm going to do some general tips on a few other places we hit this summer, because this summer was the summer of kind of fun road trip vacations. I didn't do a whole lot of backpacking this summer, and we were not able to get out and do a whole lot of camping because of various things going on in our life. But we were able to take a couple of really nice vacations and enjoyed those. And so I'm going to share some of that with you and some of the insight I got while taking those vacations. So there we go. That's a little overview and some tips for Disneyland. Any comments or questions, as always, down below at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. And other than that, always thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.